So everybody, I'm Andy with More Signings. So here's what we're going to talk about. Quickly, of course. Proprietor, that's me, and just kind of what my company does, my specific services. I've got 4 of them now. I'm just in the process of launching the 4th. We're going to do a sort of a what I'll call unplugged demo, and then we'll do a conclusion, which is Q&A or what have you. That is a Q-tip with a guitar. Okay, so that's me. And what's my current occupation? I am really a full-time educator. That really is my full-time gig. It's my part-time, full-time gig. And I started this business, More Signings, about 3 years ago as a part-time business. I wanted a lifestyle business. I was employed in the corporate world at the time, but I said, hey, I'm going to be retiring soon. What is that going to look like for me? I know I'm going to want something, a business of my own, et cetera, et cetera. So I started this, and I retired 2 years ago from corporate. So that's kind of how this whole thing started. So one of my services is Notary, okay? Just a quick review. So I presented a couple months ago, just see if anything stuck. Do you remember what the notary's primary job is? What's my primary job as a notary? Anybody? Remember I had you guys looking at your IDs? There's a hint.
Yeah. Right. Verify identification.
There we go. I want to identify the signer. That's my primary job, is just to identify the signer. So I do that for consumers and for commercial, okay? So I go to people's homes. I go to prison. Anybody been to prison lately? Went to Theo Lacey a few weeks ago, okay? So, homes, prison, coffee shops, hospitals, parking lots. I had a guy that wanted his loan package signed, Santa Ana wind conditions, in a parking lot, because he didn't want to go into his company lobby. He didn't want them to know he was taking an hour to do a loan signing. So I'm trying to keep documents from flying all over the place. So I'll never do that again, by the way. We'll have to find another place. But parking lots, right?
Couples lunch.
Yeah, lunch, exactly. Couples at lunch. I invade their lunch. And then the commercial, I actually have corporate clients, like I have a medical device company in Irvine. And so whenever they are writing new patents or filing patents, the chief executive of the company and the engineer probably who helped write that patent and develop the product, I have to notarize documents that they're going to be filing with the patent office. So that's just one example. So commercial and consumer. Permitting services. So I talk about that one in here. It's probably where there's a great synergy in this room, although many of you have used me as a notary as well. But I help people with building permits. So my clients there are architects, contractors, and homeowners, okay? And then I have some value-added services because I'll print the plans where printing is required. There's a lot of digital submissions now, but there's still a fair amount of analog submissions. So I do those things as well. So printing of the plans, the calcs, the specs, all that stuff. This, I'm just going to say, is a very labor-intensive part of my business, more than I thought. So this is definitely very labor-intensive, and I can see why people want me to do it. Right? Okay, legalization. So legalization is basically taking a U.S. document, we'll just say maybe a power of attorney or something like that, and getting it, quote, legalized by either the Secretary of State, which is a state office, or the U.S. Department of State, which is a federal office. So it just depends on what type of document. If it's somebody's personal documents like powers of attorney or whatever, those can generally go up to the Secretary of State's office. If it's something that's a federal document, those have to go to the U.S. Department of State. But I do that for people. Why would somebody even need to do that? You might have a destination wedding. I think the last time I was talking about a guy named Leo from Newport Beach, fell in love with a Russian girl. He is getting married over there. He had to prove he's not married anywhere else. So I had to legalize the county issue document on that. Family estate matters. This is probably the most common one that I have. somebody has passed away in the family, they have a trust. I recently had a lady who's from Switzerland. She's actually a dual citizen of the US and Switzerland, and her husband passed away, so her and her son own property and other assets in Switzerland, of course, in the US as well. So I had to legalize several documents for them so that she could take that to the Swiss government and help resolve that estate matter, right? The estate's changed a bit because one of the owners of the estate passed away. So on the state side, we've shown this once before, but here's an example. This is a birth certificate, and what the state does is they put their cover page on it once they've verified the public official. The public official in this case was the county recorder. This is my birth certificate. I'm not passing this around. I don't want you guys to look at my birth certificate. Then you'll know how really old I am. But county recorder was verified. So the state then says, okay, they put their cover page on it, they stamp it, and it kind of kisses across both documents. Legalized, simple as that. Sounds really complicated, but it's really just as simple as that. Knowing how all that stuff really works, though, especially on the federal side, there's a lot more complexity, okay? All right, so I do more of those lately. Another area of my business.
More of those?
More, M-O-O-R-E. Fingerprinting and live scan. That's the one I wanted to talk a little bit more detail about today. This is the newest one that I'm launching. So what's this all about? Background checks. So I'm looking here in this room, and I'm going to say, we'll just go around the room here. Had to have a background check to be a general contractor. Had to have a background check to be a financial advisor. Had to have a background check to be an attorney. Had to have a background check to be a mortgage broker. Had to have a background check to be a financial advisor, I think, right? CPA. Series 7, CPA, all that stuff.
Yep.
Had to have a background check as a contractor. Had to have a
Coach.
There you go,
Yeah.
okay?
Wow.
So really, anybody in this room might have to get a background check. Anybody in this room, just either occupationally or because you're a volunteer parent, maybe you're a nurse, something like that. So again, all these different things here. You know, as a notary, I notarize documents in board and care homes. There are more board and care homes in neighborhoods than you would believe. It's a house, and they have converted it to a board and care in all different neighborhoods in Orange County I've been in. Many, many board and care. So those people, of course, also have to be because they work with the elderly. So many people have to have a background check. Now, something that Chad found out is that you may have had a recent background check for this background check over here, but if you're getting another one for a different entity, i.e. the State of California Contractors Licensing Board, you got to get another one. They don't just roll over. Every background check, they're generally for different entities, different forms, and all that stuff. I'm going to pass this around. This is just a really common generic one. This one's from the California Department of Justice. The first page is really the only one that you need. The rest is just government verbiage and all that behind it. But there are a gazillion forms for background checks. It just depends on who's asking for it, who's doing it, etc. There's state and federal ones. That's the main thing that you got to be thinking about. How am I doing on time? We're good? Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go to the demo here in 1 second. So my ideal customer, again, because I'm mobile and I come to you and I stand in line so you don't have to, I am looking for groups. So I'm looking for groups, i.e. nursing schools. So before they graduate from nursing school, they have to be live scanned or they have to have their background check. Right now, we're coming up on fall sports, right? And they're going to have parent orientation night. And that's where the coach says, all right, this is everything that's going to happen during the season, blah-dity, blah-dity, blah. And before you leave, go over there and talk to that Q-tip that holds a guitar, and he'll live scan you, okay? that's kind of what I'm putting together here. All right, so I'm going to need a volunteer. Let's have Sharon. Let's have Sharon. This is the unplugged volunteer. Because I don't want to scan somebody's fingerprints and have those up on the screen because that's a privacy violation. So anyway, this is my new little scanner here. We're going to put this right here.
Did you guys do this before?
No, this is live.
Live?
We're doing this
Are
live.
you sure?
I know. Don't do this at home, okay? Now, first question.
Felonies?
Oh my God.
We're gonna find out.
First question. May I touch your hands? Okay. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to say, all right, her hands, they seem like they're moist. If they're dry or whatever, then I'm going to have to put some lotion on there because otherwise they really won't show up. So, we're going to take these first 4 and she's going to put those down on my scanner and we're going to scan those. We're going to take the other hand, same thing, first 4, scan those. We're going to come back, thumb, thumb, and then I'm going to do each digit separately. So we'll have all of your fingers, your thumbs, whatever. Let's give Sharon a hand. She did a great job.
Don't worry about the Pennsylvania. You're good.
Now, what happens next? Well, those get transmitted to, let's just say in most cases, they're going to be transmitted to the California Department of Justice. I have to have a proprietary software. I cannot use that laptop, by the way. I have to have a dedicated laptop that is not connected to Microsoft OneDrive. It cannot back up any of that sensitive information. So it's not totally offline, but it's mostly offline, let's just say. So that was actually a tricky part I had to take care of yesterday. So that data gets transmitted, and then on that form that's going around, there's going to be a billing number, and basically I will attach that, so that gets submitted with it. And then I will email Sharon and just say, hey, if you want to check on the status of your live scan, so you get your background check or whatever, I can forward a link to the Department of Justice site, and she can use a particular number that I'm going to give her with, I think it's her email address or whatever, so people can check their status on that, okay? So, that's kind of my newest service. My go live is September 1st or before. I still have like one more step here. The Department of Justice already given me approval. I have my letter of approval. They now have to give a number to my software company. We test it, we do a test transmission, and I'm off and running. So September 1st, looking forward to doing some fall sports and stuff like that. Okay, we did our demo. And we talked about the fact that you get one live scan doesn't mean you can roll that over to anybody else. They are unique and they stay with that background check. So my business goals this year, again, launch live scan. Launching new services always takes longer than you anticipate. I am looking to recruit talent for order fulfillment. That has been one way that I've actually been able to scale the permitting side of my business. As I mentioned, it's very labor intensive. I want to build more B2B. I want to, over time, kind of decrease my consumer side. Not eliminate it, but I would like to kind of, and then increase my B2B side. It's more attractive. I think I make more money there. It's maybe less labor intensive too. So anyway, just one of my goals. And then Island Plumbing, of course, is the gold standard for automating your business with texting, reservation systems, and all that. So I want to continue to build more of that in there. Okay? Any questions, comments, thoughts?
How quickly does it take the state to come back with the results? Or do you have to wait a few days? Is it instant? Is it?
I'm about to find out, but what I found in the past is it's somewhere between 1 week and a month.
Wow.
1 week and a month. I don't know. How long did it take you, Chad?
Probably about a week, but that's with the CSLB and the DOJ. So the DOJ and some other state organization, I don't know, maybe that could, a month sounds like a lot, but
Yeah.
Maybe it depends on the organization
F-
that's working with the DOJ.
FBI background checks they're longer, as you can imagine. So there you actually have interviews and stuff like that. Yep.
Maybe, because if you've been scanned maybe in the past, maybe that gets you through quicker, maybe?
It's the two entities who you're applying for, who you have to get the live scan, and the DOJ that communicate.
Or the federal government, U.S. Department.
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it depends. Most of them are state. Most.
Okay.
You know, in our business, because we work in people's homes, we have to have a violent criminal check. Can you explain what that is? Like, is this a different type of background check?
I don't do background
BCC?
checks per se, so I don't know. I
Okay.
think they're going to become one of my customers or collaborators. That's kind of my thought. So I don't know. Good question. Any other questions or whatever? We're good on time. Did we fit in the 15?
Yeah, you're done.
Okay, good. Thank you.